All right, well, we will get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the September 10th edition of our Coffee Break Technology Series. Glad to see a lot of people interested in this topic. Joined today by Paul Hager. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Jeff.
We're here. It's been a while since we've been on a coffee break together.
It has.
August was busy, but we're here to talk about how to succeed with your budget as we're working. I guess we're working through a post-COVID recovery, maybe COVID round 2, and preparing for a recovery. But looking at how to plan, how to work through this maybe final quarter of the year and be ready for next year from a budgetary perspective and how organizations should be thinking about that. So a couple little quick housekeeping things or announcements to keep in mind. We'd love to hear questions from you. So use the Q&A icon in your Zoom control panel. You might see that at the top of the screen, or depending on where you have that. If you pop a question in there, we'll be able to see it as the discussion progresses, and we'll answer as we can. You can also use the chat option if you would like. So please make sure you ask a couple questions along the way. We'd love to answer those for you. Again, this is Jeff Dotzler. I'm the president of Levity. Paul is the director of solutions and was the previous owner of Information Technology Professionals. Organizations came together about a year and a half ago and have now under the umbrella of Levity. We're happy to have both clients and prospective clients joining us today. So thank you for your attendance. So again, reminder on the questions. What we really want to talk about again is, the challenges, the technology challenges that organizations are dealing with, and how to plan for those from a budgeting perspective, how to think through a prioritization schedule, because while everybody would love to tackle all of their challenges and invest heavily in all things technology, that isn't always the option, and decisions have to be made. So we'll spend our next 20 minutes or so talking about that. So yeah, Paul, to start with, a couple weeks ago during a coffee break session, really dove deep into the budgeting process and what strategic resources like the VCIOs that we have, how they can help. So this week we're going to talk about digging into the business impacts of the continued pandemic issue on technology budgeting and employee productivity, work from wherever, work from a hybrid, whether that's in the office, at home, kind of a back and forth. And how day-to-day business owners and operators need to be thinking about some things. So when we look back at the last 18 months, what have been some of the most common technology challenges, issues that business owners have faced that we've talked to clients about, we've helped them deal with, and we've seen them struggle with?
Yeah, certainly been an interesting 18 months. The obvious ones, right? We had, for a lot of us, it meant a substantial amount of our workforce, if not all, started working from new locations, and we redefined what the office looked like. And that meant maybe new technology, and coupled with that, we have a real supply chain issue going on, which is what everybody hears, right? I went to Culver's the other day and they don't have the kids' meal bags, right? So it's reached pretty dangerous levels when we don't have children's bags for their food. And it's the same issue within technology, right? We have chips that are missing, we have screen components that are missing, glass, all that sort of stuff. So we had the perfect storm, mostly spurred on by the same event, but kind of all ended up related. We need lots of new technology to enable hybrid workforces, and that technology is hard to come by. Which really means this budgeting thing has taken on a new form, which is, yes, you still need to budget for your IT and for your business, but you need to be even further ahead in your budget because you may need to place an order for some of those items now with the expectation that they may take 3, 4, 5, 6 months to come in. And so if you're one of our K through college and education customers, the old kind of, we finished up the school year, so now we can start thinking about and planning and placing our orders over the summer for the projects we want to get done that summer. That whole cycle maybe needs to shift forward by 6 months. Maybe at the start of the school year, you need to plan an order for the things you're going to do next summer's off season. But you operate on a fixed budget, and money only comes in from your state probably twice a year based on your head count. So that, if you're a public school, so all these sorts of new nuances and the timing of all that has changed for a lot of businesses.
Yeah, the decisions that have to be made because the technology deployment is different with the impact that the last 18 months have, and then the timing of those decisions and when things need to be available. Obviously, lots of things to consider.
Yeah, and the follow-up question is, okay, that all sounds challenging. What have we seen customers do and how have we helped? We've helped by being out ahead of it, first of all, having a strategic vision for your IT, and having that vision not be 3 months out, but 36 months out, so that we really can plan well in advance and ride out those kind of inconsistencies. And then, one of the just continued things that I am impressed with after our merger is just the financial capabilities that we have within our organization to help companies be creative. We helped companies in the pandemic take big expenses that wasn't the right time for and spread them out over 12 months, over 16 months, 18 months. It didn't have to fall into this exact cookie cutter 36-month dollar buyout lease scenario, although we do a lot of those and it's a great vehicle. We were able to help organizations be really creative and help business owners get the technology they needed in the hands of the people that needed it at the time, but in a way that continued to allow the business to budget and plan.
Yeah, you used a phrase that we use a lot in that description, which is technology management. I think when I think about IT as a thing, it's in my mind is typically a reactive thing, right? Something breaks, people go fix it. Something needs to be ordered, it gets identified and it gets ordered. And when we talk about technology management, that is managing the technology so it doesn't manage you, and that requires you to think out ahead of things and be proactive versus reactive. And that's not necessarily, usually those two phrases are used as in describing support and how you want to try to stop problems before they become problems, so that it's not something you have to react to. But as it relates to budgeting and planning from a cost perspective, that sometimes that 3 to 5 year plan, while many people go, yeah, but okay, we'll never. The 3 to 5 year plan is a lot of hopium that we don't know all the variables that will change while we get there. What it does do is it gives you some direction. It gives you, that North Star kind of statement that says, at least we're heading towards that. It may not be the final destination that we initially thought, but we're heading in that direction, so that it allows you to make decisions well ahead of time versus being reactive. And we're seeing right now many clients who didn't necessarily plan that far out in advance and are kind of stuck due to the supply chain issues, either with old technology or just kind of in a tough situation. So having that plan, thinking through a roadmap, and being able to execute directionally at least is a really key. And I think when we see organizations that have succeeded through this environment and some that have struggled, it's usually that forward thinking and that proactive nature associated with these decisions.
Yeah, it's also, I'm a technologist at heart. It's also been interesting to see how the cloud has played a big role in that. One of the advantages of the cloud is it's immediately available and consumable, right? We don't need to worry about supply chain on Microsoft Azure. I say that with a small caveat, because actually Microsoft can actually get behind building out their data centers and run into virtual CPU shortages. But typically for a small business, we can build out your company in the cloud, in Microsoft's cloud specifically, and have access to those resources on demand. And for organizations that we had worked with, Darty help them through that cloud journey. Before the pandemic, they wrote it out the easiest, because capacity wasn't an issue, and it's available and on demand. Not every business is right for cloud. Not every business can just wave a wand and get there. But it was interesting to see how cloud consumption went up. Even at Microsoft's growth clip, it went up another 61% during the pandemic, on a really big multi-billion-dollar number, and it's because it was available and people were working from anywhere already. And so the walls of the network really just meant, do you have internet access? So it's been interesting to see the impacts on supply chain, on creative financing, on technology, and businesses. But it's been an interesting, challenging time.
A quick reminder, if you have questions that we can answer feel free to drop them in the Q&A section of the Zoom control or into chat. The supply chain has kind of been one of the main points of conversation, at least when I are talking to our clients, business owners, friends. Everybody's dealing with that. The other thing that everyone is dealing with is the labor shortage, the challenges with hiring good quality people, keeping good quality people, all of those kinds of things. It's really been across the board. We find people are struggling with that, which has big implications on an organization's operating budgets, employee retention, productivity, all of those kinds of things. So, what options do business owners really need to consider, and what do they have as it relates to navigating hiring challenges?
Yeah, talent is a challenge. So I can say from, one of the clients that I work closely with, they've reacted to it by investing in technology, in automation, robots, and more automation within their plant floor, because the talent isn't available. So they're looking to technology as a way to replace some of that productivity. Not always possible. The other thing I can say is, I had the opportunity a number of years ago to work with one of the largest technology companies in the world, and they shared with us their HR department. It was a tech conference, but their HR department came in and talked about employee retention and satisfaction. And when they did a study of the employees that left in under 6 months, or employees that left after 12 months, one of the things that they saw as a trend was on the employee's first day, did they have a new computer, new phone, and email, all ready for them on their very first day? And it seems like a small thing, but they actually had proved it out that they had retention challenges because of the lack of preparedness of IT. It's not something you see evidently. It's not like the employee starts and you didn't have that computer ready, you didn't have the phone ready, and then they turn around on day 2 and say, "You guys weren't very ready for me. I'm out of here." But it plays itself out, over a long period of time, and so that was interesting. And it's the constant challenge that we have, and it's our time to shine. And that's when new employees are coming onboarding. When you do finally get that person, now more than ever, it has to be a really fantastic experience. And then my last comment on this shortage would be, it's definitely impacting the technology space. We're definitely talking to more organizations who are saying, we can't find, hire, and retain top technical talent. It's not our core competency. We build widgets, we provide nonprofit services. And so, that is where, our organization can come in. You can, have an agreement with us, know that we're going to produce outcomes for your organization and get you out of the business of doing IT, having us do your technology management and allow you to focus on your core competencies as an organization.
Yeah, well, I would say over the last 90 days, the thing that has spiked the most for us in conversations has been, project work that organizations just can't get to. We've seen a huge influx of that. And while that's great for us, we aren't much different than everyone else. We don't have a magic pipeline to resources. It's just a challenge that everyone is dealing with. But it's been working out well for us. We've got the team to do it.
Yeah, still working on the magic pipeline of resources. Yeah. Kind of like the crystal ball that got broken in 2020.
Right. Very true. So kind of stacking on the talent issue and question. Many organizations have said, well, in order to have people, we're going to have to expand our sphere of where people live and hire the best talent wherever they are. And the remote thing was forced upon many organizations due to the pandemic, but many organizations have adopted a hybrid approach or a fully remote approach in order to make sure that they can keep employees happy and productive and even find the best talent. I think that race has definitely begun. But that introduces a different set of challenges that maybe organizations didn't have in the past. You alluded to this earlier, that the walls of the network really are defined differently today than they were for most organizations 2 years ago. And it wouldn't be a levity webinar if we didn't talk about security. So let's talk about the impact that all has on organizational security, infrastructure management, all of those really important things that we can't forget about.
Yeah. I totally understand why businesses needed to, suddenly support and have remote employees. We did too. what we need to be careful of as a business is that we're still keeping our arms around where our corporate data is and what devices it's being accessed from and who has access to those devices, right? So, and I think it's indicative in Windows 11 that was announced by Microsoft. One of the big features in Windows 11 is that you can swipe left and right and get access to your work desktop workspace, your personal, and your gaming. And that is Microsoft recognizing that people use one device for multiple things, whether businesses like it or not. If you believe that your employees don't have their Gmail open in a browser behind their corporate email running an Outlook, yeah, you're wrong. They do. And so these worlds are meshed together, and that has additional security risk as well. So, first and foremost, we need to make sure that even though you're not behind a firewall anymore, that we have the latest in technology that is monitoring the type of behaviors and activities that show a compromised device. Because a compromised device that still has, even if it's not in your office, but it has access to all your OneDrive data, all your Teams data, it is still a big risk to the organization. And ransomware can run through cloud products, Box, Dropbox, OneDrive, all those solutions. And just that mixture of it, that their teenage kid can come in and start playing games on the device when it's not at night, or maybe have to do homework because there wasn't enough devices at their school. It just introduces a lot of new challenges that businesses need to be aware of, and we need to put the right technology in place. And despite all of the cool things that we can sell, and there are a lot of great technologies we can sell and provide to you, we're probably not supposed to say the word sell, but we're just being honest for this moment. The best thing you can do is train your staff, not once, but not twice, but constantly through a cybersecurity awareness program, behind a strategy, technology management strategy led by someone like our VCIO group or solution architects, or us enabling you to be able to do that on your own, because it's really going to prey on your employees. At 4 o'clock, they're busy, they're trying to get logged off while working from home. They're going to click on something they wouldn't normally. And the best thing we can do is train them and empower them to know what good security looks like and their critical role in cybersecurity that they all play. So that's my security talk. That's my security soapbox for now. You need all of the same things that you had before. And if all your employees are VPNing back to the office, the whole point of VPN is that it connects your machine like it's at the office, and so your risk is just the same, if not more, because now it's running through a home network that your IT department or us don't have a lot of control over. That could be a router that somebody's teenage kid is put together, and it's got 9 Xboxes connected to. So it's definitely a challenging time for cybersecurity.
Yeah, and by the way, the threats and the bad guys have not slowed down, because they're giving everyone a breather because of a pandemic. It's increased dramatically, exponentially, because of all of those things. So, while our crystal ball is broken, our pipeline to resources is not been determined, nor is our silver bullet for how to resolve security issues. But to your point, you could have all the best tools in the world, lots of blinking lights, lots of smart people looking at logs. But if end users click on the wrong links, it doesn't matter. If end users, don't use a good password and use the same password for all of their social media and other platforms, the rest of it, doesn't matter. It can help, but it's critical that users have that knowledge and understand their role in the whole thing. You said it well. I just thought it was valuable to say it again. We've got a few minutes left here. A question that came in is about, kind of the economy on the whole. We're seeing a bit of a rebound. I think that there's some good things happening out there. But let's see. Yeah, so I think we talked a little bit about, how this supply chain is impacting technology enablement and productivity of teams. And I think the main thing that we're seeing is just the availability of the tools. When people need to get more current or need to arm the remote staff with the right things, we're just seeing pretty significant delays.
Yep, agreed. And it's why we have to have that long-term vision and approach. I work pretty closely with I have the opportunity to work pretty closely with one of our clients, and we had a pretty significant and critical refresh of their infrastructure planned in for 2022. It was going to be a Q1 of 2022, and it's been on the plan for that quarter for over 3 years. And so having that plan and having that long-term vision, like we talked about before, we could say, all right, with the risk to supply chain we have going on now, knowing this was Q1 2022, do we need to start getting things lined up now, which would normally be, silly early to be thinking of stuff and getting things in place and getting orders placed, but it's not. And we got the order placed, and yeah, we have a November date for some of that equipment, but now November is okay. Now, if we had waited to November, we'd already be into 2022. So you just have to be out ahead of it, so that we have time to have plans, and because the business is going to keep going, which is great. And like this person commented on, which I agree with, I think there's lots of signs that things are on the upswing from a business perspective. We just need the time, talent, resources, need to maintain the people we have, get product in that we need to provide, and deliver our services to our clients.
So last question as we wrap up, that I have for you is going back to that broken crystal ball, but forcing you to think out into 2022. You lead a team of our resources, looking at emerging solutions. You're always reading what's latest and what's coming. What do you expect are the trends, or what do you expect technology budgets to do in the next year? Are they going to grow? Or are they going to shrink? And what do you feel are some of the top priorities that organizations are considering or should be considering in 2022?
Yeah, I think from what I see on the tea leaves, as well as from kind of industry events and panels that I get to be a part of, I do think IT budgets will continue to expand because of the need to lean into technology as a differentiator, as an optimizer and productivity driver, and because technology is a critical component to enabling a change in our workforce, more remote work, more agile workforces, maybe less physical office space, more digital office space. All of that leads to more technology. The other thing that I am seeing that I think is interesting is that we are seeing a definitive rise in costs for cyber insurance and the level of inspection cyber insurance underwriters are doing to reissue and renew your policies. And that is a direct reaction to the comment you had made earlier, Jeff, about the bad guys are actually accelerating. They're accelerating for a few reasons. One, businesses are more vulnerable because they took a pause in some of their spending for a while. And because of the network, it's another perfect storm. And because the network has expanded to the new edges and new places, which IT maybe couldn't react to substantially fast enough. And so all of those things kind of come together. In addition to, we have had some groundbreaking payments made, right? The Colonial Pipeline attack, and the list goes on and on every week. We are paying these ransoms because we are not prepared. And every time a small company, a big company pays one of these ransomware events, that money goes into the coffers for the bad guys to hire more people, and they are staffing up. And then that means more attacks that are going on. And so we have this spiral going in the wrong direction. And the way we have to counteract that is lean in and make investments in security to counteract that trend. And the concept of, well, it just won't happen to me. Well, unfortunately, statistically, it will happen to you. Most small businesses will face a cyber attack at some point. It's not an if, it's a when. And because of that if not when statement, we're seeing insurance companies that provide cyber insurance policies. And I think, Jeff, we've talked about maybe getting a coffee break or a webinar together with some of our friends in this industry, because we're seeing the requirements change. They're not just going to ask you how many employees you have and what your total revenue is. That'll still be in the header. But now you're going to get a very detailed list about what are you doing around multi-factor authentication for your remote workforce. Do you have multi-factor on absolutely everything in your environment, both on premise and in the cloud? Have you moved to all cloud? Because if you are all cloud and it all has MFA, you can check this box. So we're seeing what the insurance industry is not known for being cutting edge, but when it has hit actuarial tables that too many of those policies have been paid out, I think it's going to drive behavior, and it all relates to budget. It means that if you're on this call and you're an influencer of budget, trying to convince leadership and ownership that it's there, and if you're on this call and you're an owner, my message to you is we see this trend and it is real. It's not just a sales statement because we think you should have more security products. It is a real reaction that not just our industry sees, all industries are seeing and feeling impacted in. And it's not just an insurance policy when you invest in cybersecurity. You're investing in your business's productivity. You're investing in staying out of the news. You're investing in not having an hour of downtime, a day of downtime, a week of downtime, because you're recovering from one of these events, let alone the PR hit and the impact to your culture, your business. And what if you have a really bad event, you can't operate for a couple of days, maybe you keep your clients, but you lose a few of your staff. Now you can't replace them because your staff is like, they just didn't even invest in technology enough to prevent this thing from happening. And now I got to spend all day with clients that are mad because we had a compromise. Yeah, there's just this big trickle down effect that gets really scary, and it's much more likely than water in your server room or a fire in your building.
All true and very unfortunate, and confusing and daunting, and for people who don't spend their days doing this, probably frustrating to think about where to start. And we'll leave this with we're here to help. We want to be able to help you work through this, think through this, make the best decision for your business. It's not a one size fits all solution or program, so it's not like it's $1 million for everybody. It's not. It can be. It's varied depending on the business need and the size of the organization and many other factors. So let us know. We can help. Your Alevity resources can be contacted in the many different formats that you have to contact us, and let us know what we can do to help. As we wrap up, a couple other things. We do have some upcoming events, other topics, coffee breaks series, of course, thought leadership events. And, we're hoping when we get through this, hopefully phase 2, we start having some opportunities to be out in the markets and getting out in front of people with some in-person events. So keep an eye on alevityit.com for those events. Scan this Q card, or if you're really good at typing fast, type in this URL to claim your gift card, for your coffee gift card for attending. I will come back to that here in a second. But thank you for attending. We hope that you are getting some sense of normalcy back, with kids back in school, and fall is here, and football is back. All the great things in life seem to start to be moving in the right direction. And if we can help with anything as it relates to business and technology management, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll leave this up here for a minute as we wrap up. Paul, thanks again. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
So great. Thanks, Jeff.